Monticule. Aujourd'hui, nous accueillons notre premier invité hors Québec. Mais pour cette occasion, notre première entrevue sera entièrement en anglais. Je vais donc utiliser mon meilleur anglais pour cette entrevue avec l'entraîneur en chef des Riverhawks d'Edmonton, une équipe de la West Coast League dans l'Ouest canadien, à ne pas confondre avec la West Coast Baseball League où évolue une des équipes du programme des Dogotox avec leur équipe estivale. Jake Lanferman a eu une carrière universitaire et a joué dans la West Coast Baseball League ainsi que dans la West Coast Metropolitan Baseball League au sein aussi de la NCAA. Il a participé au total dans toute sa carrière en toutes ligues confondues à 133 matchs. Il avait une moyenne avec 417 présences au bâton, 114 coups sûrs et une moyenne au bâton de 273 selon Player Reference. Il entraîne les Riverhawks d'Edmonton depuis 2 ans et cette saison, les Hawks ont terminé avec une fiche de 32 victoires et 22 défaites. Ils ont participé à leur première série éliminatoire dans l'histoire de la franchise et malheureusement, ils ont été éliminés au terme d'une série de 3 rencontres par les Bells de Billingham.
Awesome.
So, pretty easy. My goal is just to know a little bit more about your career and how you become a head coach and what's the West Coast League and how your last season went. A little bit that, as we did in the interview with Boreal FM, but this time it's with the podcast.
Okay. Do
All
you want to
right.
start with my career?
Yes, we'll start with that. I'll have a little introduction. I did one in French just to explain that it's our first English version. I'll put subtitles so people that don't know much in English can understand a little bit more. So feel free to just give as much information as you can.
All right. So, yeah, obviously my name's Jake Lanferman. I'm the head coach for the Edmonton Riverhawks. My playing career kind of got me started obviously in baseball, and then I transitioned to the coaching side. So I was fortunate enough. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. At 17 years old, right when I finished high school, I was actually earned an athletic scholarship to go play in Fort Hays State University, which is a Division II program in Kansas. So I was on scholarship there. I played at Fort Hays State for 3 years. So I played as a true freshman. I redshirted my second year, and then I played as a sophomore. I had a really strong sophomore year. The things just didn't work out at Fort Hays State in Kansas, so I transferred out of FHSU and I transferred into UBC, which is probably the best baseball program in all of Canada for college baseball. So UBC is located in Vancouver, and in that program, we only play American teams. So we're the only team in Canada that plays American teams in the Cascade College Conference. So we would go down to Oregon, Idaho. We went down and played some California Division I programs. We played Seattle U, University of San Diego. So I was very grateful and fortunate that I got to go play for that program. I played there for 1 year. And then during the summer, when I was playing back home here for the Edmonton Prospects, I actually blew out my ACL and my knee. So I had to get reconstructive surgery done on my knee, which took a whole year. So I ended up redshirting that year to work back all the way to play my senior year at UBC. And then I did all that. And then that was actually the COVID year. So we were about 19 games into our 54 game schedule for the spring. And unfortunately, COVID kind of canceled my last year of college baseball. So it was a tough ending to it all. I was fortunate enough to be looked at a little bit by the Minnesota Twins and the Cincinnati Reds. So with the Twins organization, it was obviously fun to kind of get draft looks and have my draft card signed and talk to scouts about all that. And then after I got injured, I kind of transitioned out of wanting to continue pursuing baseball. And then after I played one more summer after COVID for the Sylvan Lake Gulls in the WCBL. And then that was kind of my last summer playing. And then I was offered, just kind of a friend of mine offered me interview with the University of Alberta team. So Edmonton Collegiate Hawks, that's kind of how it all got started for me. So I took that interview, and then 2 months after playing, I was the head coach for our university program in Edmonton. And then I was fortunate enough we had a pretty good season with what we had that first year. We had 21 guys, and I was lucky enough to kind of work my way with the organization to be the hitting coach 3 years ago for the Edmonton Riverhawks. So that eventually transitioned into, well, 2 years ago now, but 2 years ago they offered me the head coach position for the Edmonton Riverhawks. So I transitioned pretty young. I mean, I started coaching at 24, I think, and now I'm 27. So in the last 3 years, I guess I've coached 6 teams. I guess 5 of them being the head coach, and then that one summer being the hitting coach. So it's been a good transition coaching wise. Obviously last year with the Riverhawks, we kind of struggled. That was my first year being the head coach. It was difficult learning the recruiting process and what I had to kind of do to get us the right product to win baseball games. But after that, then last year obviously spoke for itself. We did incredibly well, 32-22. We made playoffs for the first time. We won a playoff game at home, and Bellingham got the best of us in round one. But I think that's just the transition the program's made now, and our staff as well, that the expectations are high to win playoff games and give us another good opportunity to win a WCL championship in the next few years, which is my end goal and the players' end goal as well.
Hopefully we can see that happening in a few years. Hopefully I'll be
Yeah.
there to look at this and assist in this. My question, I think that I never had the chance, but it's because of people that don't know. When I work with Boreal FM, we talk with Jake quite often in the summertime. And my curiosity is, you had like a injury that quite ended your career as a player. But
Yeah.
at what time you knew? Was it at that time you were like, okay, I'm gonna maybe transfer in coaching, or before that you had experiences and be like, oh, maybe someday it'll get to me and I'll go coaching?
Honestly, probably the exact opposite. I don't think I ever once looked at myself and said, "Hey, I'm excited to coach," or "I want to coach." So it's kind of funny how it all worked out, and some things are just meant to be the way they are. But I love coaching. It obviously keeps me in the game. It allows me to build these relationships with all of our players. I think I'm a pretty personable guy, so it's fun to establish that and build my own coaching philosophy and coaching style around yeah, I would say it's player orientated. So try and give these guys the best experience we can, and then obviously on top of that, just have as much fun and get better as baseball players. But yeah, it just I don't know, the dominoes fell how they did, and I got that interview, and I said, hey, this is something that I would like to do, and obviously we focus a lot on the Riverhawks organization, but with that college program. We start up next week, so September 3rd is our report date, and we basically built that program in 4 years from 21 guys to 74 now. So we have a senior varsity team and a junior varsity team, and we compete in the Canadian Collegiate Baseball Conference. So that's what I do probably 8 months of the year when I'm not the head coach for the Riverhawks. So it's obviously awesome because I'm an Edmonton guy and I get to be here year round on salary, working with the organization for 2 programs that I hold really close to my heart. So having those abilities to build programs is something that when you talk about a franchise or a dynasty or what kind of legacy you want to leave as a coach, it's pretty fun being able to build from the ground up both programs and be there since day one for the Riverhawks as well.
And how did you transfer your mind to Riverhawks in the summertime? That's more competitive. You want to win games. And in collegiate, yes, you want to win games, but you're also trying to develop people that maybe some of them could get to the MLB or like a farm system. So
Yeah.
how did you learn to be development guy and we try to compete and win games?
Yeah, and obviously I'm probably one of the most competitive people out there. So it's always winning games. You never like to lose games, but it is understanding. Sometimes it is for the better development. We have to lose games and we have to learn from losses and grow as a program and as a coach. But yeah, I think when it comes to kind of separating those 2 programs, all the guys in the college baseball, so our 2 of our best pitchers, like so Halen Knoll actually came from that program. So I've had the ability to coach him for 3 years and watch him grow from a good starter in the CCBC, the Canadian College League, to performing at the WCL level 3 years ago and finding some success. But he ended up going to Fort McMurray and playing in the WCBL that summer and then making that transition to being WCL pitcher of the year last year, and then again first team all conference this year, and winning our first playoff game in front of 8,000 people. So that has been a really good, like, that connection with Halen has been really amazing, that I've got to watch his whole career kind of blossom. And I think that's our main thing that we try and promote with that college program is we have had, I think this year we had 8 guys that actually play on the college program that played on the WCL Riverhawks team, whether it was at the end when we lost some players filling in holes, but we also had Riley Barrett, Reese Devlin, Brendan Lepke, and Halen Knoll as pitchers that pitch quite frequently for us in the WCL season. So it's bridging that gap and making that program better, that which only it helps our WCL program having the bridge, but it also allows those guys, some guys come into that program and they stay there for 5 years while they go to the University of Alberta and get a great education. And some guys use our program as a building block step to go down and play baseball in the States and go to a division 1, 2, 3 school and play in a JUCO or play JUCO baseball. So it depends on the player with what route we're trying to promote with them, but at the same time, it's pretty interesting to watch every guy have a different story throughout his baseball career, which is something that's extremely fun to watch and be a part of as a coach.
And in your collegiate program, how many percentage of people that come in the program knows like they'll play either in the JUCO next year, they'll want to go in the major league as some of your Riverhawks this summer did.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of just people maybe also just want to go and just do school and they love playing baseball, so they just mix the both of them?
That's it. And I like to say a percentage out of all the guys, it's kind of tricky, but there's probably maybe 5 to 10% of all 74 that, hey, they have aspirations to move on and play in other programs. And then there's a good, exactly what you said. Some guys play junior varsity, so they don't play in our 33 game CCBC schedule in the spring, but they play their games for junior varsity. And hey, they get to play baseball at beautiful Remax Field and use our facilities and become better baseball players, better people. So it's a wide spectrum. I think a lot of the guys that are on our senior varsity team, I think that's every baseball player's goal, right? They see it in the summer too. Want to get drafted, want to play. And if it's not in the mind, if you're not getting drafted and playing minor league baseball, hey, there's a ton of opportunities to play overseas and play semi-professional or play in. There's a lot of leagues in North America too that are professional or independent leagues that are that bridge gap. That if you do well there for multiple years, then you're getting a look at Major League Baseball in the minors. So there's so many different routes, and that's the interesting part about it. And it's really cool to get to see all those guys have different aspirations.
And let's say now that we'll have like many Quebecers people that will watch this,
Yeah.
uh, if we have like a person that's like watching right now, and they're maybe interesting to go and play in Edmonton, what can they look for to be there? What's the charge of school time or sports time or uh, application, or what's the possibility for them if they want to go and play in Edmonton next year, let's say?
Yeah, we've actually recruited out past you guys. So we got an outfielder from Nova Scotia who's coming in this year, which is pretty cool. So his name's Nikhil Hawley, and we're looking hopefully he's gonna hopefully make senior varsity and compete for a spot. But it's a little bit different because it's not a lot of the universities in the States when Division I baseball, they play only out of so University of San Diego, you have to go to USD and play school or go to school there to be eligible, right? The CCBC is a little bit changed because we have probably 8 universities in Edmonton area, but there's not 8 university baseball teams in Edmonton. So it's actually, we have to take from 3 universities. So it's University of Alberta, it's Grant MacEwan University, and then it's NAIT, which is Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. So those are our 3 schools we choose from for these 74 guys. So all of them go to one of those 3 institutes. So that's how it kind of, there's not like necessarily a tuition that's for everybody because University of Alberta is different than Grant Mac. And then it's unique in that it's probably the only league in North America or one of, well, no, probably that guys can go to NAIT and work actually as an apprenticeship tradesman and still play college baseball. So we have probably a handful, probably close to 10 or 20 guys that go and they're an apprenticeship carpenter, apprenticeship welder, apprenticeship electrician that actually they're working their blue book towards their red seal to get hours actually allows them to be eligible to play college baseball. So some of these guys are actually working full-time jobs, getting their hours to become red seals. And it's pretty cool that they get to play college baseball at the same time. So it's unique in that it's definitely, if anybody out there is listening to this and wants to want to play college baseball at Edmonton Collegiate Hawks program, they basically recruiting process rolls through me, so they would reach out to me and we could get the ball rolling. But that's kind of the unique part of the Canadian League, which is kind of cool.
So it means that the guy from Nova Scotia will go in Nate and do his any of apprenticeship that he wants to do to be able to play.
If he wanted to. He's actually kind of an anomaly. He's taken engineering at University of Alberta, so he was looking at the best programs in Canada for University of Alberta is probably a top 10 or top 20 program and educational wise. So that's kind of the point where we get guys who want to come all the way out here just to get a really good education. And I love playing baseball and want to play baseball too. So that's the route he's going actually.
So let's say if someone that is in Quebec that want to go play in Edmonton and want to maybe not do an apprenticeship per se, you'll have to be in school in university over there, and after that maybe be able to play. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
more trickier if they want to do like a something more specific than working and doing baseball
Yeah,
at the
if
same
they
time.
wanted to take, let's say, a kinesiology degree and take their 4-year program, then that's good. They just have to do that at University of Alberta. And then the eligibility requirement is that they pass 9 credit hours a semester. So if they take 3 courses and pass 9 credit hours, then they're eligible to play. So that's kind of how that works for the degree programs.
And when you look at all the player that you'll have this year and that you'll maybe have next summer, how many of them would you say you'll have in the Riverhawks team that will work towards having a spot next summer?
Yeah. We usually probably have 3 or 4 pitchers a year. So this year, yeah, that's kind of about. We had 7 or 8 guys that I think 8 was the number that played this summer. So at least 4 to 5. Hopefully, that's kind of our goal, and to continue building this college program that promotes athletic ability to play at the West Coast League level is the end goal. So we've gotten so much better in the last 4 years that guys have been able to play on the Riverhawks, but that process has already started this last week for me to recruit our team for next summer for the Riverhawks. So we're in talks with a lot of good Division I programs all over North America, and we've built some really good relationships with the schools we've had from the last couple of years of having guys sent up. So that process has already begun, and which is pretty crazy concept that you recruit in eight months down the road, but it's pretty cool.
And for people that will go in collegiate system, uh, with their any classes or any part of their school part time, how many time will they be to school and how many time will be they with you and just work out to this baseball season?
Yeah, there's it's a huge allocation of time to our program, and that's the most difficult part of being a student athlete, right? So a lot of these guys in degree programs will probably take classes from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m., or you take your 3 or 4 classes up until then, and then once they're done classes, then they'll transition right to heading down to the field, and we usually practice from 3:30 to 7 in September and October, probably 6 days a week. So it's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of hard work and time management to allow them to excel both at school educationally and then at the baseball field with their baseball skills.
And what do you gift them as a way of getting transport when we play in the US and you have to do like a traveling time? Is it buses? Do you have like enough money to allow a plane every time you travel? What does it
Yeah,
look
so
like?
like we fly a lot. Obviously, we fly all the time with the Riverhawks in the summer. There's only one trip to Kelowna Kamloops that we actually drive, but we're a little bit. So this league actually only has teams in Alberta and British Columbia, so it's all bus. We've actually flown out a couple times all the way to Vancouver Island to Victoria, and been fortunate enough with our organization that we have the funds to do that at the college level, but A lot of it is bus trip. So in Alberta, Calgary and Lethbridge are the other two programs, the University of Calgary and Prairie Baseball Academy. So we'll drive down there to play the Alberta ones, or they'll drive up. And for that 32 game season in the early spring, that's kind of how that looks.
And if I bring you back to the first time you played baseball, who introduced you to the game of baseball and put you a ball in your hand and be like, let's go just have a catch?
Yeah. Well, a cool story, but being Canadian, I think I was definitely more on the hockey side till about 16 years old. So I think the love for baseball, it was always a great transition from winter, I played hockey and then baseball in the summer. And that allowed, I think that helped me just be more athletic as a person. Obviously played school sports as well, like basketball and badminton and volleyball. But when I was young, yeah, I think just obviously always looking up to the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays, like nationwide, all over Canada, is something that's been very, as young baseball players, inspirational. Sorry, and I was lucky enough to go when I was 12 years old. My parents took me to Toronto, and we watched a couple Blue Jays games, and it was pretty cool because it was Roy Halladay was starting against the Yankees, and I think he threw a night. I think they won 1-0 in the 10th inning. I think he threw 9 inning complete game shutout, and they won in the 10th. So something I don't think I'll ever forget. And going to Rogers Place to watch them play. I was fortunate enough that when I was in high school, it was the first year that they did the tournament 12 out at Rogers. So I made Team Alberta, and then I got to go play there at Rogers, which was pretty. I don't know. It was an incredible experience. Obviously, yeah, getting to represent Team Alberta and then play there against all the best talents in all of Canada. So that, yeah, just memories that I'll never forget. And then just playing. There actually wasn't rep baseball where I grew up on an acreage outside of Edmonton, about 30 minutes in our Drawson. So took about a year or two for me playing out rec or just house league baseball for them to be like, hey, this kid's actually pretty good. He should probably move into Sherwood Park and play some rep ball. So I did that early on, and then just kind of hit the ground running and played. Yeah, grew up playing Sherwood Park minor baseball right outside of Edmonton.
And when I looked to get like as much information as I could get for your player side, I saw that you were a outfielder, so you either left, right, or center field. But was it always your first position? Or did you do infield, catcher, pitcher? Where
Yeah,
were you?
so growing up kind of in the infield as a shortstop, I didn't transition to the outfield until probably high school. I was a pretty fast player, so I picked up outfield very well. So I usually played center. My arm was pretty strong too, so I would play right and center. I actually pitched a lot, so I pitched all throughout high school. I went to Kansas, that first school I went to as a two-way. So just to keep where we were at. Yeah, I went to college as a two-way, so I was a pitcher and an outfielder, and then it just kind of worked out the way that it did. That I just enjoyed hitting. I enjoyed playing the outfield a lot. I was really good defensively. Loved to steal bases. Loved to use the quickness in the game. So I'm not really sure why I stopped pitching as early as I did in my college career because it was definitely something. As I grew in size, I started to throw harder and harder. So. I probably went to college at 17 years old, just turned 18. I think I weighed 135 pounds, and then I came out of my third year probably at 198. So it was a little bit different, the strength conditioning side of what we did at college versus in Canada, growing up in the high school academy. So a lot of time in the weight room, got a lot stronger, and it helped me on every aspect of the game, especially the hitting side.
And this question will be pretty interesting because in Quebec, something that we see a lot, I don't know actually in English in Alberta how you would call that. We could call that in an academy. In every high school will have like a baseball program, and
Yeah,
sometimes you'll have like a certain programs that'll push their players towards any JUCO college or any college in the US. And we have like a big program that's called Académie de Baseball Canada, or in short ABC. And
yeah.
they'll go all around either in Ontario or Alberta, and they'll go in the US and do like big games against JUCO program or any type of program and try to
Yeah.
show as much player as they could to get them in JUCO university or college, depending of how big they are, and often they'll have some offers over there so you can go play, let's say, in any type of
Yeah.
JUCO in the US. For you, how does it works? Did you have like an offer? Is it that college that went to you with like, we like you, we want
Yeah.
you? How it works?
So, the process when I was coming up was a lot different than it is now. Like everybody's getting seen extremely well. You have these showcase travel baseball teams that go down to the States and play a lot, and they get seen and get these kids recognition that they deserve to go play in these programs. So when I was in high school, it wasn't like that at all. We played in the Prospects Academy my grade 12 year, which is in St. Albert. And then we did do a big travel. We did a big bus travel down to Kansas, and we did a JUCO showcase in all of Kansas. It was where a couple of our coaches actually played growing or in their college programs. So we went and played Hutch and Garden City and Colby Community College and Emporia and all those programs. And the Jayhawk, that JUCO in Kansas, is one of the best JUCO college or leagues in all of North America. So I got I want to say two or three offers from those Kansas JUCO schools, but JUCO wasn't really something that I wanted to pursue educationally. I wanted to at least try and get a degree instead of going and playing junior college and only getting a diploma. So my old high school coach from that academy, Cam Houston, he actually went to Fort Hays State in his college career. So that was what kind of got the ball rolling. I had a couple other offers, a lot of JUCO offers, a couple in North Dakota and kind of a little bit closer to Alberta that got to see me play a little bit more. But that was really it on that front. And I was pretty excited to get offered a scholarship. And that was kind of the first one that I got at the time. I kind of signed pretty late and decided to go down there. But the thing I should have done, and you see it now a lot earlier, is the perfect game showcases, which are most of the best talent really in all of North America, all of the first round draft picks, and those kind of guys play in those perfect game showcases. And I was lucky enough that right before I finished high school, I went down and did one, and I think it was Fort Lauderdale area in Florida. And I've never done one of those before. Never really sized myself up with everybody else North America and the best baseball players in the U.S. And I was lucky enough to make the World Showcase, and then I was playing against guys like the third overall pick, and from that draft class, Nick Gordon and guys like that, where you're like, holy, all these guys were signed to go play Division I, and a lot of them are still playing or did play in the minors. So I wish that process started a little earlier, and I got my name out there a little bit earlier as who I was as a baseball player. But when in 2014, almost 10 years ago now, it was a little bit different on how that recruiting process went. It was obviously they do a great job with hockey. Canada's the home of hockey, right? So baseball wise, it was a little different. But I was really fortunate that I could go down and I grew as a person, grew as a player at Fort Hays, and then that kind of allowed me to go be a part of UBC, which was just an amazing experience.
And when you got in Fort Hays, what did you see or thought of that place when you get there? Did you had any clash or like a
Yeah.
little homesick of, okay, that's way different of what I have at home?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas is pretty similar to Alberta. I think it's pretty I wouldn't say redneck, but yeah, kind of redneck. So I fit in well on that front. But we flew from Denver because you went Edmonton to Denver, and then Denver, you take the tiniest little plane you can imagine to Hayes, and you just basically arrive in a wheat field where the airport is, and I remember my parents being a little like, "Where are we dropping our kid?" I didn't go and visit either, so it was like, "Holy, this is far from home, especially Edmonton." And being 17 years old, it was a big change. It was a big change in everything. They stayed with me probably for a week to get me settled in, but then you're doing everything. You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're living life on your own, and as soon as the baseball program started up that fall, you got 30 teammates that are become brothers in a month, and it was an extremely awesome experience. I think I grew up and became very independent very quick, and then it just allowed me to grow as a person. I obviously chose to really hone in on academics. I think when I transferred out, I had a 3.78 GPA, and that really helped me get to UBC because I don't think I would have got there out of high school with the grades I had there. So it was pretty cool there's pros and cons to it all. So it was something I wouldn't ever take away. Met some amazing people there, and it was pretty cool to watch my career kind of start there.
I do have two questions on that point. First, were you in like an apartment alone? Did you have any roommate to just like help you to be more comfortable when you were over there?
Yeah, the first no. So you actually get put in as a true freshman with another athlete. So I was in a dorm, and the dorm didn't actually have like separate rooms. So it's just two beds. Like the feet of the beds are actually like touching, and you're just like living and sleeping and learning how to live with this. I was fortunate enough. His name was Eric Parrish, and we got along extremely well. He was on the track and field team. He was a long jumper. So it was cool though. It allowed the whole wing of our dorm was all it was all male wing, so everybody was leaving their doors open, and you got 15, 20 friends in the first month of just guys that you live with were basically in the same dorm. So it was that town itself, like Hayes, Kansas, there's only probably 25,000 people in that entire town, but the college university I think has like close to 10 or 12,000. So it's a university town, and I would consider it a party school. There's a lot of partying going on there, and it was really cool to kind of get inaugurated into the culture and to understand a little bit what it was like to be part of, yeah, USA, college USA. So it was cool.
It got a little different with 20 people, 20,000 people in Fort Hayes and Edmonton. That's like just
Yeah.
West Edmonton malls, just that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, and I feel like even when I transferred to UBC, then you're just like jaws on the ground because like Point Grey area campus, I think there's 75, 80,000 students at UBC in Vancouver, right? And it's basically as soon as you get out of the jurisdiction of Vancouver, that whole university area is its own city. There's 100,000 people, right? So yeah, it was definitely cool. It was nice though. I liked the small town vibe, and it was fun to kind of get to know everybody around town, and yeah, with the athletics and everything, it was great.
And in Fort Hayes and in UBC, what did you went there to study for? Did you have any like I don't know, architectures or what did you
Yeah,
do?
I actually got into business management at Fort Hayes. I thought it was something that, to be honest with you, post secondary school, thank goodness for baseball, or it wasn't something that I had my eyes on. So I now have my master's in sports psychology. When I transferred from Fort Hayes State to University of British Columbia, all of my business courses didn't transfer into solder well, so I actually had to go into arts to play baseball. So I finished my undergrad at UBC in psychology, and then I just recently, in the last 2 years, finished my master's from a university in Portland online. It's called University of Western States. So it's kind of cool to use the background of sports psychology, sports and performance psychology with our athletes, and I think it's helped me really grow a lot to kind of get inside the minds of these guys. And obviously, my playing career, I know what they're dealing with. I've been there and done it, but now I at least we have coping mechanisms and different kind of things we can help these guys use when performance breakdowns kind of arise. So it's been extremely cool to see that bridge kind of gap between the playing side, the coaching side, and the mental performance side.
And that's the question I'm just curious to have because many people that I spoke to them about, we didn't have any like complete answer about it, but it's something that maybe was there before, but like in just the last like 5 to 10 years, we talk a little bit more about it. That psychology part of talking and trying to help people going through what they're going through.
Yeah.
Did you wish that was something that you had when you played, and how did you implant that with your players?
Yeah, I actually, right when I transferred, I was having a difficult time. You're so used to Fort Hays State for 3 years and everything about it, and living there and being a captain on the team. And I kind of that transition from being a captain to reestablishing yourself as a leader on the team wasn't difficult for me, but living in Vancouver was extremely difficult. It was probably one of those worst fall slash winters they'd had in years. I think it rained for 35 days straight. And it's just a lot of acclimation to the climate, to everything about it made it difficult. And that at the same time was the first time I was ever talking to MLB scouts, and we had our pro day, and having the Reds and the Twins kind of reach out it was a lot of change, and it was a lot of putting a lot of pressure externally on myself to perform. And I did actually reach out to a sports psychologist, and that was like the first time I kind of got inaugurated with it, and allowing myself to talk to somebody about that. So that really helped me kind of choose what I wanted to do educationally. And I think we're in such a better spot now where when we're talking about athletes, and a lot of professional athletes, like even in the NHL, I know Nathan McKinnon is so predominantly focused on his health and his nutrition and his mental performance and the way he goes about it with his sports psychologist. And you see it in so many different avenues now that it almost used to be looked upon as a weakness, right? Hey, I'm reaching out for help, and I'm trying to talk to somebody to make myself better. But you have everybody who's frowning about, like, are you not mentally able to handle these kind of these stressors or these big time situations? And it was looked at in the wrong light. I mean, even men's health and the stigma against men being, I would say, soft or something like that, that kind of stigma against reaching out and getting help. And I think we've just done a really good job in the last 5-10 years of breaking down that barrier and allowing men to feel like, hey, you can reach out, you can talk to people, you don't have to be so stoic all the time and be so manly in that kind of sense. So I think 100%. I did utilize it at a point in my career, but it was at that latter half of it. And I think as I graduated and as my career ended, we've seen this transition. And I mean, why it's such as in baseball, you're failing 70% of the time. You hit 300, 3 out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. So we're usually failing 8 out of 10 times, and people don't really understand how different the game of baseball is than any other sport. Where it's just I strike out in the first inning. I have 35, 40 minutes on defense and in the dugout to really ruminate about and overthink, some guys do, to, hey, my next at bat when I get another opportunity, right? So I tell a lot of people this, but you're playing chess a lot of the time on the baseball field. It's not just what meets the eye when it comes to physical performance, man. We're battling with a lot of stuff mentally as well.
And it's a game of chess against yourself most of the time, to just not run around with your same thoughts. It was
Yeah.
something that I wish I had when I had my like peak of performance. Was
Yeah.
not that high, but sometimes that was the hardest part, to just get over the fact that you strike out. Next time, try to do better. Sometimes, if we had that earlier and easier way to talk about it, many people maybe would have like a better career, or like local career, we could say.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious to know, and I might know a little bit because we maybe have talked about that before, but I want to let people know here what happened this year. You had 56 games in a row, if I'm correct, 56 or 55, when
Yeah.
you at least score 1 point with the Riverhawks.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And we had the first game in Edmonton before that the Bells of Bellingham, uh, I think, shut down you like 2-0, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
or either
Three.
the
Yeah.
last or the second one. What what was the trick or the goal that you had with your team that you were able to do that, even though, as I know, you weren't aware of that before that
Yeah.
very last game that ended up 2-0 for the Bellingham?
Yeah, well, we like, just to circle back about it. I think we were in the dugout in Bellingham, and I'm right in the lineup, and we're talking to the guys and everybody. It's a great pregame. We just came back from Edmonton, winning at home, and Trent Lenahan, our first baseman, he says, "Man, did you guys know we did we didn't go a game this year where we didn't score a run?" And I was like, well, first off, my jaw almost hit the floor. I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible for us to do that. And then, of course, baseball, the way that baseball is, he had to jinx it, and then that night we get shut out. So it's funny how it played out. It is what it is, but I think it speaks on not. And I mean, the first time we talked about it in that dugout before that game was when it was really brought to me. We never ever. That's never the focus. Is like, hey, you're going to run into good arms, and there's incredible arms in the WCL. I think it speaks to our hitters and the depth that we had the entire summer to be able to anytime going through that lineup. There was a time I wrote a lineup in the middle of summer, 1 through 7 or 1 through 8. I was like, this is the best. This is the best hitting offense, I think, in the entire WCL. I mean, as a team, we hit 278 or something to end the entire year. And we lost Michael Soper and Bryce McFeely right at the end there, and those were two of our all-stars. And our lineup looked a lot different in playoffs, and we did a good job of picking up some guys that helped us to really compete in playoffs. But I think that was the biggest thing is just we had so much depth that it didn't matter if we were 5, 6, 7 or we were 8, 9, 1 or we were the leading off 1, 2, 3 in our order. Those guys were going to find a way to pass the bat to the next guy, to do things, whether it was sacrifice hits or sacrifice bunts or play the game the right way to score runs. And obviously we showed that the entire summer.
And I do want to know because it's something that we have here in Quebec. It's called the LBGAQ. It's a junior league that most of the
Yeah.
time it's people that just wants to play baseball, and we have people from the United States that play there that come back to play that summer. And most of the time, the hardest part that they have is at like a week or two before the playoff. As you had many people go back to their college or
Yeah.
JUCO, and they have like a new face, a new team. For you, for the next year, what's your plan to try to, as much as it's possible, to avoid that? Like, I would call it a slump or like a little downgrade because your all-star player are going away, so you have a
Yeah.
new team and you try to figure out a little bit the things to get good and great for the playoff and try to do like a big run. What's your tricks or goal to do for next year?
Yeah. It's just trying to better set up the recruitment that if we know we're going to lose a guy later in the year, we have a guy to replace him that we think is capable of doing it. The most difficult part of this entire coaching and constructing your team in the summer is losing guys, losing players, or like pitch count limits and inning limits are the most difficult part of it on the pitching side. And now it's just trying to construct our pitching staff so that if we know a guy can only throw 25 innings and he's here for the first month and a half and he reaches that 25 innings limit, then we have a guy that we can bring in halfway through to kind of replace that, which is extremely difficult and easier said than done. But that's the next step for me as a recruiting coordinator and being the head coach. So it's trying to get in that kind of flip side, bringing in guys that can do a really good job when we lose our main guys.
And when you try to recruit any other players, or uh, I'll try to rephrase that, when you trying to get some new people to get in your team, and because you had like all-star player that leaves, where do you go to grab to pick those guys? Is it with your collegiate team? Is it uh like a minor team that you have under the Riverhawks? What's the
Yeah.
possibility for you when you have to go grab new players and bring them along?
Yeah, and I mean that is kind of what happened positionally. We had two catchers go down. One got Tommy Takeyoshi signed with the Oakland A's, and then one of our players' medical emergency had to go home. And it was kind of a situation where that's exactly it. One of our Carlos Hernandez was he's our collegiate starting catcher, and he's a really good catcher, and we brought him on, and he kind of backed up Russell Young, and that's also the big part of having the collegiate guys get better and better is it bridges the front of the summer and the end of the summer, right? Some guys don't get there on time, and we have a week where we're trying to make do with what we can until our starters come in. And yeah, that's it. I mean, reaching out to connections that we had. So David Cron was a kid we picked up really late. He's actually going to UBC as an incoming freshman, and he was a guy I reached out obviously to Sammy Starr and our my connections I have with UBC, and they allowed him to kind of come with us. So it's when it's injury or when it's things that you don't expect to happen, even the draft with losing that many guys, it's a lot more difficult because I didn't plan for it, right? But we did a good job with what we could, but at the same time, it's easier when it's hey, we know this guy's going to be gone at this date, and we at least can find a way to replace it. But it's the ones that come out of nowhere where it's like, dang, now we got to kind of get on it. So it's just tough because and then there's a lot of times where pitchers are shut down for the summer. They're not trying to let. It's more difficult to find a pitcher at the end of the year that's a quality pitcher rather than a guy who can play good defense and hit. Right? There's just more plentiful. There's less elite arms ready to rock right then than there are elite infielders, outfielders, position guys.
And if you would like to help me out here to uh, paint a picture for any person that listened to this and from Quebec that don't really know what's the West Coast League and the West Coast Baseball League in terms of, is it like a semi-professional club? Is it just a summer league? What's the West Coast League so they can like paint something in their head and maybe at some point they'll play for one of their those teams that plays either in the West Coast League or West Coast Baseball League.
Yeah, it's summer collegiate baseball, and that's what it is. So all the guys that play for the our Edmonton Riverhawks team are going to university all over North America, Division One, Division Two, etc. The West Coast League is probably one of the top. I think it was ranked six or around there. I would say even top five summer collegiate leagues. So there's the Northwoods, there's the Cape Cod, there's the Alaskan League. And then we're right in there. They're all the exact same level caliber. It's summer collegiate league, but it's the West Coast League is obviously endorsed by the MLB. Our All-Star game was broadcasted on MLB Network, and I think we had something like 56 or so, I don't know the exact number of players that got drafted this year that had played in the West Coast League. So it's basically the bridge year, that bridge program for a lot of guys that are underclassmen, freshmen, sophomores, juniors that are going to go play or get drafted in their junior, senior year and play in the MLB. Or like in the minor leagues for an MLB team. So that's kind of the it's a pinnacle. It's one of the best leagues there is in the whole in all of North America for summer collegiate baseball. And that's why it's so much fun because it's not as I don't know, structured as college baseball is in the spring. So that's why you see us doing everything under the sun when it comes to different jerseys and they get to have fun with it because it's summer baseball, which is the best part.
Yes, I think this year you had, I think it's just like a couple days ago, you had like a Swifty shirts
Yeah,
made.
well, yeah, it was early on, but we did it at Taylor Swift. We had the Swifties, we had everything under the sun. So it was pretty cool. The guys love it, and so that's what Summer Ball's about.
And next time I'll be in Alberta, I'll try to come. Oh, and technically next year I'm supposed to go back if everything goes well in June. So technically you'll be playing at that time. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll try to be there. It could be interesting because the only time I went and I had the chance to be outside of the Remax field, it was in 2019 and it was in April, so it was closed. I wasn't able to get in there because that was my goal.
yeah,
I did like 40 minutes of car to get there and
yeah.
try to see it, and it was closed, so I had to go back and do other
This year,
things.
if you come in June, we'll show you the clubhouse and maybe we'll get you on field, take some swings with the guys or something.
That would be
There you
insane.
go.
Oh yeah, that would be insane.
There you go.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you hit me up. I'm gonna put you up to it.
Oh, that would be so nice. I do have some questions that are outside of the West Coast League and Collegiate League. It's more like your thoughts as a baseball guy. Um, I'm listening a little bit more in baseball podcasts and rules that will be maybe in plan in MLB, and I just want to have your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Because the question that we have this year is we see a lot of reliever pitcher come and just play one inning. So it seems like the MLB is thinking of putting a rule that the starting pitcher have to throw 6 innings so they don't just go max effort every pitch they do because we see like a lot of pitcher getting injured like elbow or shoulder injuries. So what's your thoughts? Because they're trying to do if you remove your player, like your pitcher in like in the third inning, you'll have like your DH remove, or you'll have like penalties to get you to
Yeah.
keep your pitcher as long as possible. Or if you, I think if you do 100 pitch or your pitcher get injured. So what's your thoughts on trying to maybe like penalize a pitcher by keeping them
Yeah.
longer?
Well, yeah, and it all like they play so many games in such a short period of time, right? So there are a lot of times, and I know in the last few years, like an opener has really become something that the MLB organizations are working around, right? So instead of throwing a starting pitcher, you're just throwing a guy for 2 or 3 innings to kind of open the game, and then you can go to your bullpen. I mean, a lot of it happens or occurs when one of the starting pitchers is injured or somebody goes down, and you're trying to revamp your whole pitching rotation and make it work best for your team. But I do think it's definitely an interesting concept. I think they changed it years ago when you couldn't have just a pitcher come in to face one batter, right? And a lot of these organizations, they have so much statistical analysis at their fingertips where there's a lot of old school coaches. They love to play matchups like, hey, we want to bring in the left-handed pitcher to face the one left-handed batter, and then we're going to go have the righty come in and face the righties, right? And I think that's what they're working towards. I know their main goal with all these new rules last year, they want to speed baseball up. They want it to be applicable to everybody where it's not 3.5 hour games. And we saw last year with the pitch clock, we saw it with bigger bases, even making stealing easier, and the pickoff move rule. Those are all three of those have made, if they've changed the game immensely, right? And I'm all with trying to make the game faster, but I mean, being a true baseball guy and loving baseball my whole life, there's a lot of it too where I'm like, hey, well, it's tough to go back in the archives of baseball history when now we've changed stuff, right? You change the pickoff rule and you change the base sizes, which people might be 2 inches or whatever if 4 inches adds up. And I mean, you saw Ronald Acuna steal 70 some bases last year because of that pickoff rule. We've changed baseball and it's now difficult to go back and say, well, hey, something like Ricky Henderson's steal record and stuff like that, which we before were like, that will never be touched. Well, now you're having guys stealing 50, 60, 70 bags a year. You have a Shohei Ohtani might go 50-50 this year, right? So I love it because it's new age baseball. It's new era baseball. You have bat flips now. You have these incredible things that used to be frowned upon, and it's a new era of baseball. But at the same time, it's tough when you start talking about yeah, just the analysis from modern baseball to old school baseball because we're changing little things. So it's interesting and it's cool. It's cool to see them implement it. I think if they were to penalize it for something like that, I think removing the DH would be an incredible punishment. Now you get to go back to pitchers hitting, and I mean such a unique sport. Even in that we had the NL hitting for how many years when the AL wasn't, and it's just it's cool. But it's always change is good, and you're gonna have both sides of it. You're gonna have the old school people with baseball who absolutely hate it, and you're gonna have the new age people that just love it. So I'm impartial, I guess, to some of it, but to some of it, I love to see.
And who knows, maybe if we see back pictures to go we'll have the chance to see again a Bartolo Colon who hits home run, or a
There you
Madison
go.
Bumgarner that did the same, and like those kind of
Opening
guy that
day, 2 home runs. Yeah.
that was something to see him. Maybe who knows? Someone did bring an approach to trying to help people hit more a fastball, or like, because we see more and more pitcher throwing like 100, 102, 3, 4. So the approach was like, bitch, try to make them learn how to hit the faster and harder ball and try to explode on a fastball. So that's like few approach. I'm curious to see Rob Manfred what will he do, and also at one point what will it looks when Rob Manfred won't be there anymore, because at some point he'll be gone. I think he's only have like 5 year left, he said,
Yeah.
or something like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see like
Yeah.
what's
Well,
gonna look like.
we've already seen the game change. We've never seen people throw this hard in history, right? You have who's the Mason Miller's the closer for the Athletics, touching 103 to 105. You have Ben Joyce on the Athletics. Like you look back in it, and it's hitting. Hitting is obviously, in my mind, the most difficult thing in all of sports, and now you're making it even more difficult because. I love the one stat. I think it was Shohei Ohtani when he hit all his home runs the other year. He faced 368 different pitchers or something like that. And then Babe Ruth when he hit all of his home runs in one year, I think he faced 32. Right. So it's crazy how the game's evolved, obviously, and It's just changing in that everybody's throwing harder, running faster, and it's crazy.
And in the same topics, I've also heard, I think like it's a few days ago on the Digging podcast with Eric Hosmer. They
Yeah.
said that now that we have like baseball program that goes all year long, we see more young players having elbow injuries or shoulder injuries. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think we should change some stuff? Do you think we're on the right path?
It's just like there just comes a point where these kids are throwing at such a high level of intensity for so long that if they're not built up for it or their body can't handle it, I mean, the human body really isn't made to have that much torque on your elbow in the way that a pitcher throws, right? We're just not built for that. And we obviously see that with UCL injuries and that lead to Tommy John. And I think like the numbers have to be the amount of kids getting Tommy John in high school or younger compared to what they used to be are just astronomical, right? And that's just because even the COVID era, you saw so many guys that year of nobody's really playing. You just got to see so much more training, and now we have all of these elite level training facilities like Driveline and all these great facilities, but we're teaching players and how to throw hard and use their bodies differently and all this good stuff. But it's also, hey, I can throw 105, but I can't necessarily command I can't command the zone. So there's pros and cons with it all. It's just unique this age, but I mean it's good that they have pitch counts. A lot of I know here locally in Edmonton area, right? They still have pitch count limits so that you're not just running out high the same pitcher because he's our best pitcher 4 days in a row throwing 75 100 pitches and I mean that's kind of almost I think it's Japanese high school where they have that massive tournament and guys throws 500 pitches in 3 days. It's astronomical, right? So it's crazy,
That's
but
a lot.
it's yeah. I mean, baseball is it's yeah, culture all over. It's different. So
I got like 3 or 4 questions left, and I'll let you go on your way in your afternoon. Um, my first is what's the plan for next year with the Riverhawks? Either as the players and teams to try to get at like second round in the playoff, and my second that goes around, you have a record of if I remember correctly, it's like 619,000 or something like that. Like you
yeah,
had like a record of a person to be in the attendance. What's your goal with those two part of the side of the club?
yeah. I mean, we just want to keep building. So it was fun to be in the playoffs, but the same thing, being a competitor, we're here. We want to win a championship, and I think the second round of playoffs would obviously be great, but we don't really want to stop it there. So I think trying to get back in the playoffs and pushing for a championship now is our next goal, and having that group of guys, the returners, to be in that situation to know what it's like and now expectations and that it can be done and. I think that's kind of what we're building off as an organization and as a coaching staff. And then on the flip side, a lot of that is just the marketing that we do. And Steve Hogle, who's our general manager, does an incredible job with that. And same with Ryan Gregg and Maddie Murdoch and the people in the offices working to get the in-game promotions and all the crazy madness stuff that we do down there helps, but also having a winning baseball team. And that's a big reason too. Edmontonians are passionate fans. I grew up here. I've lived here my whole life. I'm an Oilers fan. Everybody around here knows that winning is in the back pocket. They want to do it, but getting there is kind of the interesting process. So I think that as we continue, we had some tough ones with the air quality and a couple games that we got canceled that made it a double header on a Saturday night. So I definitely think we can beat 117,000 and fans coming through, and I think we will next year. So it's pretty to see the city kind of grow and to love coming down to Edmonton Riverhawks games in the summer has been something really cool to watch progress, I guess, after the 3 years that I've been doing it.
And now I'll put two hats in the same time. Sure, we'll try to keep going with the Boreal FM and try to talk of you nicely and know a little bit more about the team every
Yeah.
year. As soon as I'm there, I'll be there as long as I can. But we'll try to talk about it still in Boreal FM. And I got 2 questions for you. My first one is more a little bit more about like a player development in Canada. What do you think we should do, like from coast to coast, differently, or keep going to get more people in the MLB?
Um, I think just like the game itself is growing, right? I think it's kind of funny the when the Toronto Blue Jays have guys like Vladdy and Bo, and they like even my in college era they had those runs where they had Donaldson and Tulo and Ed Carnacion and Jose Bautista bat flip changed baseball in Canada. Now you have people watching it, you have people excited about it, you have people to look up to and emulate, and I think that is what really makes baseball has made baseball great in Canada for a long time now. Is everybody's extremely eager and excited to play and to look up to those people. And I just think it starts with the guys who have the knowledge and the ability to give back to communities and to coach. And I think that has been always primary in the hockey world. You have so many incredible hockey players because the NHL is basically in our backyard, and how many Canadians are NHL players and have the ability to run camps when they're back in their hometowns, and that's how you see the progression go, right? And I think even this off season, it's important for me and my staff to try and create a camp that allows minor baseball, whether it's house league or it doesn't really matter what it is, to give them information about here. This is how you run a practice schedule. This is what we're trying to, our main points we're trying to develop with hitters and pitchers. And a lot of it just comes down to making them more athletic as if you look at even the hitting perspective of what you see growing up in high school academies and earlier in that, we just want them to be able to swing on a strong foundational base and to make them as athletic as they can while they're doing this. And you just have a lot of coaches who it's either misinformation or what I see the most is just cookie cutter emulation of what they want to see. I want everybody to swing like Mike Trout. I want everybody to swing like Albert Pujols or one swing, right? Like one swing. And it's just to me that takes away a lot of athletes' athletic ability. And hey, let's instead of taking what you like out of an athlete and kind of constructing it into a more efficient way to do that and be successful, it's hey, we're gonna scrap this your leg kick. We're gonna take away your leg kick and we're gonna go to something that's more that right like more fundamentally sound and we see more. Well, it's like every kid is different and every player is different, right? And if we take away the things that make them great, well, now it's almost handicapping how they can become better baseball players.
And that's for sure. And also trying to make them play younger, more sports to develop more abilities to
100%.
get and see more of the field and what they do. Because as much as we hear young players, a lot with like the Blue Jays with like Will Wagner or Leo
Yeah.
Perfido, like they all say they're great athletic players that can do a lot of things. They play every position. It can be
Yeah.
used in center field or third base. Like they can go a little bit everywhere. So I think it opens a lot more of doors for them as soon as they'll get to like a more elite
Sure.
place and get where they want to be. Either it's to play their highest places to play with the Riverhawks or go in
Yeah.
JUCO or go like depending on everyone where they want to go. My last question, pretty easy, just a prediction. We're getting close of the playoff in the MLB. What's
Yeah.
your prediction? Who you think that will win, or do you have like a you want to see like the Yankees against I don't know the Guardian? What do you want to
Yeah.
see?
Yeah. I don't know. I almost follow players more than I follow teams these days. It's pretty cool and it's pretty amazing to watch. So, Eric Sabrowski, who's from Edmonton, and I played with him for the Edmonton Prospects. He just got called up 3 days ago, so he's actually in the bullpen for the Cleveland Guardians. So that's going to be what I'm watching in the next week or two. He's had an incredible minor league career, and to get that opportunity to play Major League Baseball games is incredible. So. The other team that I'd say I enjoy watching and have just an incredibly young, talented team are the Baltimore Orioles. So I like what they got going on, and that rivalry with the Yankees has been pretty fun to watch. So I think baseball is in good hands with the young talent. You have Ellie De La Cruz, you have O'Neill Cruz, you have I could go on and on with these incredible talents. Pete Crow Armstrong is somebody I really like watching right now, and to just be on the baseball side of seeing these guys get drafted and watching them come up, and I just like to watch a lot of player development and see what they're doing, and those kind of guys are just they change the game. They're so electric to watch, and it's fun. It's a new age baseball, and you see those older guys that are we've been watching for tens and twenties of years. They're kind of on the edge of retirement, and things are changing. Like somebody like Joey Votto, incredible career, incredible person, right? But it's crazy. Like now you have those guys getting out of the game, and now it makes room for all these rookies and these young kids.
And I've listened to his like retirement speech,
Yeah,
and it was just crazy to see like how well sounded he was with the fact that he wasn't MLB ready. He wasn't able to be there. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure he would have liked to just end everything against the Reds and play with the Blue Jays, just like end it there. But
yeah,
it's just nice to see, like, even though if he would have liked to go back in the MLB, he knew that was it, that was the end.
yeah,
Um, a theme I think it would be nice to see this year, and it's been a few years and weren't able to get really far, is the Kansas City Royals with Bobby
yeah,
Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, that could maybe be like his last 2 to 5 years that will be done after that. It would be nice to see because last year I think they end up with 100 losses, and this year they could win their division, could depending on
yeah.
the next one.
When I was at Fort Hays State in Kansas, those were the years that they won the wild card game, and they had all those guys like Mustakis, and they were loaded back then, and it was fun to watch. I actually watched a playoff game in Kaufman. It was us versus the Blue Jays. It was game two when David Price, I believe, started the ALCS. It was pretty incredible. I've never been in a place louder than that. It was almost like Arrowhead in Kaufman. So it was cool to watch. But I mean, you're a Boston Red Sox guy. You just saw who's the catcher named Danny Jansen. He just
Yeah.
caught for both teams in the same game, which is it was pretty cool to watch some MLB history a little bit
Yeah.
different, but it's crazy, hey? That was
It's
cool.
crazy. It was my like big subject for the last 2 years on my shows. Just say like we never saw that. I think the last one was 1986, and it was in the minor league with a
Yeah,
player that did that. So it was something, and it's just crazy how when we look at what he did with the Blue Jays this year and when he got with the Red Sox, I feel like a
yeah,
just new place of scenery, just having new players, having a new place that just changed
yeah,
a little bit of how he went. He's not like the biggest player. He's not like the superstar, but he does quite well for himself. Hopefully, I would like to see the Red Sox at least went like go in a wild card spot, but
yeah,
as how they've played in a couple of the days, it's harder and harder to hope for that. I'm
yeah,
not a Yankees fan by trade because I love the Red Sox, but we cannot like pass over like what Aaron Judge is doing right now. So hopefully they'll win the World Series because it's been like a while they haven't done it. It's weird
yeah.
coming from me who likes the Red Sox for like so many years, but game recognized games. I think
There you go. There you go.
that's it. Thanks a lot, Jake Lanferman, to take the time with me today. We'll talk soon when like the collegiate season and next year will start. That's for sure. But for the podcast, that is the end. Thank you for the last hour. It was really nice to get to know a little bit more of your career and just talk baseball with you. Hopefully, we'll talk soon if we have like big events or if you end up going in and being a coach in the minor leagues. Who knows? It could happen.
That could
We'll,
happen.
we hope for you that it will happen in a couple of days or a couple of years. And we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Make sure you bring that glove behind you when you come to Edmonton, all right? We'll
Yeah,
get you
it's
on the field. There you go.
all right. That's great. Thank you
Hey,
again.
talk to you soon, Zach.
All right. Bye bye. So, maintenant, on le sait. Prochaine fois, je vais à Edmonton. Je dois apporter ce fameux gant. C'est un beau segue. Stud Glove. Vous voulez avoir un nouveau gant, tant dans le softball que dans le baseball, c'est votre chance. Dirigez-vous sur la page Instagram, écrivez Stud Glove et vous allez avoir toutes les informations nécessaires pour être capable de récupérer des gants Stud Glove. 299,99 pour des gants de premier, des gants de outfielder, infielder et pitcher. Pour des gants de receveur et premier but, on parle de 309,99. Vous devez attendre en 4 à 6 semaines pour la livraison de votre gant et vous auriez la chance d'avoir un super de beau gant comme ça. de bonne qualité, qui est durable, qui fait un très beau travail pour les gens qui vont jouer sport-études, qui jouent à l'année longue, ou même pour les gens qui jouent seulement l'été dans les conditions locales, ça va avoir un gain de qualité qui va durer longtemps. Je vous le rappelle, Stud Glove, c'est votre endroit pour avoir la chance d'avoir un de ces super beaux gants-là. Et bien, nous, on va se revoir prochainement pour un autre podcast, Le Monticule. Merci à Jake Lanferman des Riverhawks d'Edmonton qui a pris du temps de sa journée pour venir parler avec moi de baseball. Et dans les prochaines semaines, on tente d'aller chercher des nouvelles possibilités et qui sait, potentiellement qu'on peut replonger un petit peu dans d'autres sports. J'ai quelques possibilités qui peuvent s'en venir dans les prochaines semaines. Merci encore d'être avec nous à tous les semaines et à tous les mois pour le podcast Le Monticule et on se revoit prochainement pour une autre émission du Monticule. Ciao!